Congratulations, establishment. You got your wish. Bernie Sanders is dropping out of the presidential race. News broke this morning. This is terrible news for the country because I think that Joe Biden has a pretty bad chance of defeating Donald Trump in November, and it's bad news for the progressive movement and just for all of us. So I think this was too soon. Bernie Sanders is dropping out on the heels of a Wisconsin primary. We don't know the results yet fully, but that was completely illegitimate and determined by mass voter suppression. But part of this is, if you read between the lines and you read about Bernie Sanders' personal relationship with Joe Biden, he likes him. Biden was always good to him when Bernie Sanders was in the Senate, and Joe Biden was as well. And so Bernie doesn't want to do him dirty, and the perception from the mainstream media would be that he would be doing him dirty. Bernie could potentially be running for many more months, because Biden could not potentially aggregate the necessary delegates to force him out and move on to the general election. But when it comes to fundraising, Biden kind of needs Bernie to drop out, because then he can move on to the general election pot of money, which is much more significant. The Sanders campaign, this is from Ryan Grimm, who I believe broke this story in The Intercept. Congrats to Ryan. The Sanders campaign had raised $182 million by the end of February, with roughly $19 million in cash on hand. The Biden campaign, meanwhile, had raised $88 million and had $12 million cash on hand at this point in the campaign. So Biden was eager to move on to that general election fundraising and eager to pivot. I don't know what to. There's a lot to say. Obviously I'm sad. Bernie Sanders is... The reason he's dropping out is why we love him, because he's such a principled and good man and so selfless. And I think he saw that the writing was on the wall at this point in his campaign and that it wasn't going to happen. And so he wanted to allow Biden to have that stronger position going into the general, which is admirable. I get it. But he gave away all of his leverage in terms of getting Biden to adopt a more progressive policy or any semblance of a policy. And, I think he could have used that more effectively, but there's got to be some scarring from 2016 where a lot of the people around him blamed him for the loss, Hillary Clinton's loss, which is inexplicable because Bernie Sanders did tens of rallies for her and vociferously advocated for her. But guys, Biden's even more conservative than Hillary Clinton. Yes, Biden doesn't have the baggage of being kind of the mayor of the establishment of DC in many people's minds in the way that Hillary Clinton was. But Biden has different baggage. He has cognitive decline baggage. He has sexual assault allegation baggage, which nullifies a lot of the talk about how Donald Trump is so disgusting when how are you supporting someone who also has terrible allegations against them? What happened to believe women? That's just one of the many things. And the biggest problem is that Biden doesn't have a message. He doesn't have any message. None. And Bernie Sanders could have stayed in the race longer to help him formulate one. But Bernie, this is unprecedented times. He's tired. And he's seen the way this goes before. They were never going to let him have it. So I think this is a massive loss. Bernie's never going to run again. And I think how he'll be remembered is one of the most important Americans in the history of politics. Sorry, it's embarrassing. For changing the conversation indelibly about what Americans have a right to have. Healthcare, it's a human right. Education, he's changed the conversation forever. And that will leave a mark. It may not be today, and we may not get everything today, but because of Bernie Sanders, we will eventually get those things, and, I won't stop until we do. So